Let's do it. Time to go on this, folks. Let's go. It is the 2023 NCAA Tournament reveal. It's happening right now. It is Selection Sunday. Happy Selection Sunday to all of you all out there. Josh Neighbors here, your host of Locked On Big 12. Make sure you guys once again follow us on Twitter at LO Big 12. You guys can find me at Josh Neighbors _ on Twitter. You're getting the bracket revealed as we speak right now. They're doing the first part of it. They used to do some like weird stuff before it, but now they're just going straight into it. So we'll keep up with it. We've got a whole lot of characters there. A whole lot to get to though. We'll have to cover yesterday what happened in the Big 12 tournament, kind of how it relates to how the bracket shakes out right now. You all can put your questions in the chat as well. We will take those questions, answer those questions as the show goes along. Once again, the nation's best basketball conference. And also, we just got our first announcement of a Big 12 team. West Virginia looks like they're playing Maryland in an 8-9 game. Right now on my screen, it's in the Charleston Cougars get announced. But so first thing, South Region, Alabama, A&M Corpus Christi against Missouri State, 116. Then we have below that, Maryland and 9-seed West Virginia. So 9-seed West Virginia taking on the 8-seed Maryland. That's where we are at this point in time. I will share my screen so we can all be on the same page. Let's see, share screen, there we go. Now here we are. So it is, folks, you guys are seeing what I'm seeing here on the selection show as we get rolling here. First things first, when it comes to the conference is how many teams will get in. So right now, obviously the first team, but 7 are in safely, right? All the way from Kansas slash Texas, who we think is going to be obviously higher, but we had the championship yesterday, and then Texas won. Sorry, folks. What's going on? All right, there we go. Now we're good. All right, so now we're ready to rock and roll. Sorry, Mike was in the wrong spot there before. Okay, so now we are rolling for real. Yes, we have had 7 teams that we know for sure they're going to get in. Kansas, Texas, K-State, Iowa State, TCU, Baylor, West Virginia. I'm trying to think about who else I'm missing, but there's a group of 7. We just see Baylor comes up there right now. We know 7 teams are going to be in. The big question about who is in, who is out is going to be Oklahoma State, right? That is the one school we've got no idea yet. They're going to be in or out. We have no idea where Oklahoma State's going to be, NIT 1 seed or Dayton. That feels like the most likely scenario. So now as we are going through this, I'll take down the Josh Neighbors graphic. That's less important. All right, so now you're seeing down the line there are my Missouri Tigers. They're a 7 seed. They're playing Utah State. There you go. But in this bracket, the South region, we've had the 9 seed West Virginia, and now we have a 3 seed in Baylor. Well, they're taking on UC Santa Barbara against the Gauchos. So the Arizona Wildcats right there, a 2 seed. It's a pretty interesting region. 1 seed Alabama, 2 seed Arizona, a 3 seed Baylor. All teams obviously with some pretty good pedigree during their runs. Princeton 15. So that first region is now set up. So you see it right here. We have got 2 Big 12 teams in the South region. Once again, one more look here. Alabama as the 1 seed, your 8-9, and Maryland against West Virginia. Right now, guys, to me, the best team in America going is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Have you been watching Alabama? They're pretty clearly the best team in the country right now, in my opinion. I thought UCLA had a case for that, as good as they were playing, and they lose Jaden Clark. And then, obviously, Kansas was making a great run. Well, no Bill Self, and, thank God he's been released from the hospital, but I'm unsure whether or not we're going to see Bill Self again at all in the tournament. And then, obviously, Houston lost today, and they had Marcus Sasser go down with an injury yesterday, and they got their clocks clean pretty good. Made a comeback against Memphis, but still, Memphis gets the job done. So there are a lot of questions, in my opinion, right now about how good some of these top teams, we thought about are. Purdue barely gets the job done against Penn State today. A lot of questions. Once again, a lot of questions being asked about the top teams in the country. The one that we're not asking about, at least on the court, Alabama. Their one big knock is how young Alabama is. It's how young that team is. And so there are a lot of questions about, how good, or could that cost them in the tournament? And then obviously the off the court stuff, right? The off the court stuff has been a huge factor. It's been a huge story. And so, you're thinking about that potentially factoring in. Taking their first break. So once again, South region, 2 Big 12 teams are in. Both of them, I guess West Virginia is the last safe team. 8-9 against Maryland. They played in football, every single year. It felt like forever. So it's funny that we're getting them in hoops now on that front, which is, once again, it's funny how these things always go. But there you go. They're going to be in that game, 8-9 game happening there. And then 3 seed Baylor against UC Santa Barbara. I wish I could give you some analysis on UC Santa Barbara, but I cannot. I don't know much about them. But the 2 seed in the region, I should say, is Arizona. And the always that kind of big question as you go along is, all right, for Baylor at least, is what version of Baylor are we going to get? It feels like at times, this team was so hot and cold because it's kind of the way this team works. The way that team operates with the 3 guard set is if your guys aren't making shots, well, they're not an elite rebounding team. They were not the normal Baylor standard in terms of defense as well. So where are they really? How good are they actually? Is it somewhere in between? Is it more towards the team that can't make shots and the offense stagnates and, they're not rebounding as well? Or LJ Cryer and, obviously Keontae George had a great season. Adam Flagler are bombing threes. We're in great shape. That's what they are. Love you, West Virginia. Thought you could make a run if you were in the right spot. I don't like the fact that you're playing Maryland. That's probably not great. First comment is KU probably did themselves a favor by losing the Big 12 championship. Not sure how that is the case, Alex. If you want to elaborate on that, I'd love to hear it. But that's one place. Actually, it's a great segue. Talk about this yesterday. So I don't know why Rodney Terry is still the interim head coach at Texas. Does not make much sense to me that he would be the interim head coach. He should be the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. The performances they put on here last 2 weeks against Texas, against Kansas, not just against Kansas, but throughout the tournament and whatnot. That's a really well-coached group. I know it's an old group that should be good because they've got a good amount of older guys and a decent amount of talent as well. But the job he's done coaching that group, it's still difficult to do. There's so many good coaches in this league, and he guided his team past most of them to be the number 2 team, obviously heading into the tournament. And then obviously they won the tournament. Once again, throughout the year, wire to wire, the best team, in my opinion, in this league was KU. Texas, though, was right there. I felt very strongly about Kansas being able to win being able to win the Big 12 tournament, but still, win the Big 12 in general. But Texas winning the Big 12 tournament, I picked them to do that. Like, that's still a really impressive feat. And now you have to strongly consider them because of the momentum that they have. Now, I know we saw a couple years ago, Texas win the Big 12 tournament and then get beat. So that is something you have to consider as well. But, I think it's for them kind of proving the point. Now, there's Houston in the locker room after their loss. They are the number 1 seed, future Big 12 team in the Midwest region. KU chokes a lot when they're a 1 seed or the number 1 overall seed. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where they end up being. I think Alabama was number 1 overall, with not hearing the audio, obviously. So I'm not sure exactly where they are. So Houston, you're number 1. That was thought. And then they're going to play Northern Kentucky, the Norse. I believe they are the Norse. So once again, 2 of the 7 for-sure teams we have seen, Baylor and West Virginia, are in the South region. Now, Midwest region is the part of the country that the Big 12 inhabits. Midwest plus the South plus a little bit of the East. West Virginia as well. We'll see where teams go. Iowa as an 8 seed, 9 seed. Auburn. So there you go. That's an interesting game. It should be a fun offensive game, at least the way those 2 teams play. And I'm sure there'll be some folks picking an 8-9 upset on whoever gets out of that game to beat Houston. But you could get a pretty great coaching matchup regardless. Kelvin Sampson against Fran McCaffrey or against Bruce Pearl. Sign me up for that. Miami as a 5 seed, like that for them. That's a team actually I think I might favor in a bunch of tournament games this year. It's a good team. It's an old team. They've got some size. They got really good guard play. They've obviously got former Big 12er Nigel Pack on that team. Drake, the Bulldogs, are your 12 seed right there. So no Big 12 teams yet, as we've gone through 6 teams in the Midwest region. I'd venture to say that we're about to see at least a Big 12. I'd expect we see a Big 12 team here in relative short order. Let's see if we get that. But once again, this is already feeling like the winnable region. Indiana, yes, guys, this has got the feeling. This is the Midwest region. This feels like we're not sure who is going to come out of it, because I could see the 1 seed losing in Houston in an 8-9 matchup. I could see Miami getting by Indiana. I could see the guard play from Indiana carrying them all the way past there. So that top half, at least the top half of the Midwest, there we go, Midwest region. In Greensboro, we get Iowa State. So Iowa State's your 6 on this part of the Midwestern bracket. The first team in the Midwest from the Big 12. Against Mississippi State and Pitt. So there is game number 1 of your play-in. I'm not sure Mississippi State should be in a play-in. Not positive. That's where they belong. But there they are. So there they are in that play-in game against Pitt. Chance to get momentum, maybe, sure. But I'll tell you what, guys, that Iowa State defense, that's you probably want a running start against them, right? You probably like to get a game first before you play them. But I don't know. That's going to be a difficult matchup. But there you go. First team Midwest region, our 3rd overall Big 12 team. It is the Iowa State Cyclones. 3 seed is the Xavier Musketeers. As far as 3-6s go, guys, that could be a team that they could definitely beat. That's for sure. Iowa State could easily beat Xavier, as we see Kennesaw State, the Owls, fired up. Great to see the small schools get fired up there and do that. But I'll tell you guys what, that top half of the bracket, pretty open. Elaine Tran says, do not count out Houston. Not just, you have to be concerned about that Marcus Sasser injury, how much that affect them. And then today, it didn't matter too much, but some thoughts with them. Texas A&M as a 7 seed. That's interesting. I feel like they're a little bit higher than that. Probably 6 range for me is where I had them, but A&M is a 7. Bottom half already shaping up to be pretty fun. Let's see who comes in at the number 10 seed on this side. Penn State. We just saw them in a tight contest with Purdue to round things out. So there you go. There is the matchups on this side. We've got one more to go. John says TCU over KU here. And there's another team. We have the Big 12 tournament champions, the Texas Longhorns. I'm not sure why Rodney Terry, once again, is still an interim coach, but he is, and they will play Colgate, who's once again back in the tournament. They will do so in Des Moines, Iowa, in the first round. So Midwest region is done. We saw another pair of Big 12 schools. So 4 of the what we suspect to be 7. And I appreciate that, Elaine, to say that you appreciate enjoy your show. I appreciate you enjoying the Locked On Big 12 experience. Glad once again all of you folks are tuning in. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LO Big 12. You guys can find me at Josh Neighbors _. Also, please subscribe to the channel. We got over 3,600. Let's make it 3,700 ASAP as we hit the tournament. Big 12 dominates now. Let's dominate in the social media category as well. Please subscribe to the channel. And also make sure you guys sub wherever you get your podcasts. So if you guys cannot watch the show on YouTube, you guys can listen to it on your podcast platforms. There you go. Once again, we're seeing the bottom portion of the Midwest region. Iowa State and Texas. Iowa State is a 6. Texas is a 2. And Iowa State, man, I mean, to be a 6 at this point in time is pretty crazy for them. They really salvaged that thing towards the back end. It was getting pretty sideways. I think that win, or their 2 wins, we should say, against the Baylor Bears were the big difference. Right? I think it's pretty safe to say that beating Baylor once and beating them again towards the back end kind of dovetailed, kind of fixed a few things for them. So that kind of got them in the right direction. But there you go. A bunch of teams, 2 Big 12 teams are seeing Kansas and K-State awaiting their positions. But Iowa State rallying to get a 6 seed, rallying their way to get a 6 seed. Because remember, they were top 15 in the country for a long period of time. And then things went downhill for them. So let's see. I'm trying to figure out a couple things about locations here. now we hit our second break of the day. Also, folks, I have to say this. Ironically enough, my CBS Sports app, I watched both the Big Ten and the A10 championship games today, and I had the Big 12 women's championship game on the smaller TV. And my big TV, without 10 minutes left in the Big Ten game, decides to say error. Roku TV, CBS app craps out. So I'm doing this off the computer. That's why. So we're watching this together. We are doing the same live feed together. Once again, send in your questions in the chat. We'll answer them as we go along. 4 Big 12 teams have been announced so far. In the South region, it is Baylor as a 3 seed, and then West Virginia is a 9 seed taking on the Maryland Terrapins. And then in the Midwest region, we had number 1 seed Houston, future Big 12 team. We also had in this region numbers. We had number 6 in the Midwest region was Iowa State, and then number 2 seed is Texas after their Big 12 tournament run. But still, we have to give so much credit to the job that Rodney Terry did. I know people don't love talking about Texas because they're leaving the Big 12. I understand that, but they're in the Big 12 right now. Also, part of it too is I don't believe they should crown the Big 12 champ. Like the tournament champion is not the Big 12 champion. Because the Big 12, there's not unbalanced scheduling. You play everybody in the league, home and away. The Big 12 champion this year was Kansas. The Big 12 tournament champion was Texas. Now, if you want to say that, in the ACC or the SEC, where the schedule's unbalanced, you don't play everybody every single year home and away, sure, you can claim that. But in a league like the Big 12, where you do play everybody home and away, I mean, you can't really argue against the idea that the Big 12 champion is Kansas, because during the 18-game stretch that we play in the regular season, 9 home, 9 away, they were the best. And they should be the Big 12 champion, in my opinion. Elaine Tran says, SEC sucks. I agree. I definitely do agree with that. I think the SEC is way down from what it normally is. So once again, 4 Big 12 teams that we know we're going to be in the field for sure. The one that we're waiting on is Oklahoma State. Their name has not been called yet. I think now, we're through the first half. We have a couple of our playing games. They have not been announced yet. Obviously, we're holding out here. So commercial break. All right. So I'm going to, let's see. We have a commercial break for 1 second. All right. Leave the feed up. Make sure you guys keep it right. It's back now. All right. Make sure you guys keep it right here. Right back in 1 second. I want to make sure that we don't have a sound coming from outside. But once again, Studio 1A here, Little Rock, Arkansas, still getting adjusted to outside noise. So we'll be right back in about 10 seconds. You guys keep watching the feed. All right, we're back at it again. Here we go. Kansas, a number 1 seed. There you go, in this region as the number 1 overall seed. They will play Howard, then the number 8 seed, Arkansas Razorbacks, against the Illinois Fighting Illini. That is 2 teams that have drastically underachieved this season. Arkansas has plenty of talent. Illinois has actually a couple former Big 12 members, right? And Matt Meyer, and then also TJ Shannon. They're pretty good. But they've underachieved at times this year. Then now you've got the 5 seed St. Mary's taking on the 12 seed VCU in a 5-12 matchup. VCU was always going to be a 12. Felt like that's my hometown team. Both my parents, VCU dental school grads. So we love the VCU Rams in this house. So good for them. 5-12. It's a fun matchup. UConn and Iona in a 4-13. The second round game should be a lot of fun, but I like this match. I like this region. It's either Kansas against Kansas or Illinois against Kansas, which regionally makes a lot of sense. And then now another Big 12 team. So Big 12 team number 6, the TCU Horned Frogs on the board as a 6 seed. That's a little bit higher than most people thought. And then there's one of the matchups, Arizona State against Nevada in a play-in game. The winner gets TCU. Now, obviously, the big story surrounding TCU has been the Eddie Lampkin saga. And it feels like now we were wondering, hey, when will he come back, be at full strength? Well, he's not coming back, and there's a lot of issues, obviously, to go along with that, but no Eddie Lampkin. And so we see right there, they will persist, and play either Arizona State or Nevada. Sun Devils in the field of 68. That was a big question. Gonzaga and then Grand Canyon. Ooh, Gonzaga, TCU. Interesting potential second round game if both those teams are able to make it through. Grand Canyon is a 14. GCU is able to make it out there. That's happening in Denver. So Gonzaga should have a pretty good contingent out there, I believe. And there's the Northwestern Wildcats, not used to being in the tourney. This is always one of the most fun parts of it. Enjoy seeing schools like that being able to celebrate. Not normally there. Once again, send your all questions into the chat. We'll answer them as we go along. All right. So once again, Northwestern's there. We've got 2 Big 12 teams in this region. 1 seed, Kansas in the West region. 6 seed, TCU, also in the region. Your 2 seed is UCLA. Very interesting in the West region. So this implies the 2 seed UCLA. I'm not sure where the final is in this region. Probably Los Angeles. If somebody in the chat could look that up, maybe let me know where the West regional final is. That'd be great. But UCLA is the 2 seed out West. Now, I'm once again not overly concerned about them because I think losing Jalen Clark is a huge loss for them. I think it really does hurt. So I think that's kind of concerning for them, but also UCLA, man, like still a really good team. They still maybe have one of the best coaches. They might have the best coach in the region because, guys, is Bill Self going to coach? Right? We have no idea. Number 1 overall seed, KU, or excuse me, number 1 seed in this region, in the West region. They'll start off in Des Moines, Iowa, in this region, so relatively close. I'm sure they'll have a great crowd there, but also Des Moines, not like it's very far away. Let's see. I'm actually in Little Rock now, so you guys an idea of how far Des Moines is from where a lot of Arkansas fans would be coming from. Let's see, Des Moines, Iowa. Let's see how far it takes us to get there. 8 hours, 25 minutes. That's pretty far. Pretty far. So that's a haul to get Arkansas fans there. Illinois fans, I guess, a little bit closer. But KU in a very interesting region. Gonzaga's a big name, but not as good as they normally are. UCLA in the West region as a 2 seed. And Elaine Tran says Kansas will take this region, but sure, I think they're obviously the favorite because of the 1 seed. You have to wonder, what is the Bill Self situation going to be? What is that availability going to look like? And then TCU bottom half, right? I mean, TCU's got some history, obviously last year against Arizona. They're in a good spot. They're going to play either Nevada or Arizona State. So Western-based teams. And they'll play either Gonzaga or GCU, Western-based teams. So TCU is 6 seed. Feels a little high for as good as the Horned Frogs were this year. Once again, their Big 12 record, not great, but I think their ceiling, we'll see if they can kind of find that ceiling. And let's see. And Lane says she's in California. So good to see that's out there. I know our guy Alex not happy about it. Once again, send your all's questions here, Locked On Big 12. Once again, if you guys have not subscribed yet, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel at LO Big 12 on Twitter. Follow me at Josh Neighbors _ as well. And that's where you guys can find us. Then once again, subscribe. That's what helps us grow this channel and make this thing what it is. So there you go. Look at some delicious dishes. Grab a beverage. Make sure you guys are enjoying your your day-to-day, your Selection Sunday. Let you all know right now that today's show is brought to you all by the FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. If you all are going to wager on the NCAA tournament this year, do it at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Best odds, best lines, guys. It's not even close. They have the best interface, best odds, everything you all need, everything you all want, you guys can do at the FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. Make every single moment matter more. All right, if you all have questions, send them right now. Now's a great time to answer them because of where we are in the announcement. There is currently a Duluth trading ad occurring right now, so make sure that you guys send in those questions. I will answer them. 6 Big 12 teams have been announced so far. The one that is for sure in that we have not seen yet in is K-State. So K-State, we are still waiting on at this point in time. The one that we're wondering about and starting to get late for them is the Oklahoma State Cowboys. You know, it felt like maybe for a bit that if they won that game against Oklahoma, they could get in, but they needed just one more win, it felt like, to really put themselves in. They had a great chance against Texas, but not able to get the job done. And so right now, it's why, you know, that's why they're obviously still on the bubble outside looking in right now. Larson says he thinks Kansas can make the Sweet 16, but after that, who knows? Once again, I think for them, it's going to come down to what Bill Self's involvement in this NCAA tournament is. We've got no clue whether or not he's going to be able to coach the team. Now, I'm sure he'd like to. I'm sure he's going to have some input and some thoughts, but I don't think he'll be on the sideline. We just got word that he, had a heart procedure done, and I doubt we're going to see him back in the NCAA tournament right now. I can't think of that doctor is going to be is going to sign off on Coach Self getting back in there, getting involved in the way that he'd like to be. All right. So we got one more region to go. We'll see what they got. It is the East region. #1 seed is Purdue. Now we know this for a fact. Duke will be here. I think Duke is going to be a hot pick to make the Final Four out of this region because of how well they played. They're the Boilermakers basking in the glory of their Big Ten championship in Indianapolis. So congratulations to them. Let's figure out who fills out the rest of the field. SEMO or Howard are going to get the assignment to play the Purdue Boilermakers. So we'll see who they draw there. But once again, we're really waiting on Kansas State. So they're the 2, the 3, the 4 in this region that is left to be seen. Also, Oklahoma State, one more shot, one more chance here. Memphis, your AAC tournament champions, getting the victory over Houston, future Big 12 team. Obviously, third time was a charm for Penny Hardaway and company. And there's also FAU, a 9 seed for Florida Atlantic, a team that I think only lost, 3 games the entire year. So FAU draws the Memphis assignment right there. And they're in the whatever conference there. Sun Belt champions. What a year that FAU had this season. Very deserving. They could present some problems to mid-majors in your 8 and 9 matchups. Your 5 seed is Duke. So everybody thought, hey, Duke's probably on a 5 seed. I thought they'd reach 4 maybe after their performance in Greensboro during the ACC tournament. They are right there as the 5. So K-State could be the 4, could be a 3, the 2. We'll see what happens. Most likely a 3 or a 4. And Oral Roberts will be the 12 seed. Max Asmus and company. Connor Vanover, former Arkansas Razorback right there, the tall gentleman. You guys can see is right there. Obviously, people are picking them to, do a lot. I don't think, I guess the one issue is that, Kyle Filipowski could be negated by what Connor Vanover does, but I'm not all the way there. And then Tennessee picks up, I'm surprised by that. Tennessee picks up the 4 seed. They will take on Louisiana in the 4-13 matchup. So that's a pretty crowded group right there. Tennessee's pretty good. They did lose Zakai Ziegler, which does hurt them. Kentucky, your 6 seed, Greensboro, North Carolina. This is a crowded region. Some pretty good, pedigree. We have Memphis, we have Purdue, we've got Kentucky, Tennessee, and Duke, all in this group. East region could turn into a real bloodbath. Providence draws the assignment. Ed Cooley being a lot talked about right now at Providence, right? Is Ed Cooley going to go take the Georgetown job? John Fanta says that Providence or Georgetown has their man. Could that be Ed Cooley? That's interesting. 3, guys, think we're about to see the Kansas State Wildcats as a 3 seed. There they are. Boom. K-State, your number 3 seed in the East region. They will travel to Greensboro, North Carolina. I want to see Wildcat Nation out there. I want to see you all loud and proud in Greensboro because Big Blue Nation is going to be out there. You need to see the EMAW folks. You need to see you guys out there. Montana State, the 14 seed, is who they will draw. So 7-10, 2:15 left to go. It looks like the clock has struck midnight on our friends, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. 1 seeds in the NIT, it looks like. So 7 Big 12 teams, as Michigan State is drawn as your 7 seed. They always say January, February, Izzo, but I'm not really sure how much we're there anymore. 7-10, Michigan State, UCLA, great uniform game. Absolutely great uniform game. Love that. We're going to enjoy that matchup. It'd be a great football. It's going to be a great Rose Bowl. Great Rose Bowl. Probably a fun game in Columbus, Ohio. Marquette, your 2 seed. Ooh, that will be a red hot pick to win. I think this region. I think Marquette will be a very, very sexy pick. But also, there's a lot of big names. There's Duke, there's Kentucky, there's Michigan State, and there's Marquette, there's Purdue. I mean, a lot of fun. And then obviously Vermont. There you go. Last team that has been announced, the Vermont Catamounts. So we're done. It's over in terms of naming the teams, guys. 7 Big 12 teams have made their way into the field. It's easier to list the teams that did not make it into the field. The teams that did not make it. Texas Tech, a lot going on there. So it's probably even, it's probably good that they're not here, right? Also, we did not get Oklahoma. Their season, we know that one went pretty average. A lot of quad 1 wins, but a lot of embarrassing losses. Last team, Oklahoma State, felt like they got themselves off the bubble for a second, but then 5 straight, it was 4 or 5 straight losses they had middle of the season. They just could not overcome that, and so they were left out of the field. I'm not sure there's no hard feelings. Got the right teams in here. There was really no conversation about, hey, who was in, who was out. We got some of the wrong teams in here. This feels like it was pretty much where we thought this thing was going to be. Teams in the Big 12 about their draws. Teams here, Iowa State was a little higher than I thought. 6 seed was awesome for them. And then I thought TCU as a 6 was too high for them. I would have had them lower than that. I think they should have been a 5 seed, in my opinion. Definitely a top 20 team. So I was surprised that they were there. Once again, you guys see it right here. 7 Big 12 teams out. It's funny. I thought the SEC was down this year. They still got 8 teams in. The Big 10 gets 8 teams in. But guys, let's be honest. Here it is. Last 4 and last 4 out. First team out, Oklahoma State. I mean, just barely missed the field of 68. Nevada gets in, Pitt gets in, Mississippi State gets in. Excuse me. But it's funny. Pitt had a chance to win the ACC like 2 weeks ago, and then now they're one of the last teams in. Mississippi State, Tolu Smith, good defense. They're right there, obviously. Arizona State, that win against Arizona, that's the big difference. That pushed them into the tournament. It win against USC, I believe, last week. That helps them out. Nevada did not win their conference, but they are in right there as the last team out. Clemson passed the eye test, did not make it in. Carolina, 1/2 of last year's national championship game, did not make it. And then Rutgers. So the Big 12 gets beat by 2 other conferences in terms of teams and guys that it doesn't matter. Last 2 national championship games have been won by Big 12 teams. A separate Big 12 team was in the previous title game before that in 2019, Texas Tech. Look, this conference just eats itself. Watch Big 10 games. If you go back and watch the Big 10, y'all, you guys will see this. Like the Big Ten was not nearly as good this year as people made it out to be. Surely it's one of the better power conferences, but it felt like all the power conferences were kind of down this year. They just ended up having like some depth, and that's what really mattered a whole lot. So here's what we're going to do. We'll wrap this one up. This was kind of our instant reaction show, kind of walking you all through as it all came out live to us. A Locked On show is going to come out pretty soon about the Big 12 conference, or about the entire bracket. And we're going to look at, teams, all kinds of sleepers, whatever you guys want. Tomorrow's show, we will go team by team, road by road. We will break down everybody's situation, where they sit, where they're playing, so you all know where everybody is. And then I'd assume on Tuesday, we will do every single Big 12 team's path to the Final Four. And then I will discuss kind of the degrees of difficulty in reaching the Final Four for all of those teams. That's what's coming up. Make sure you all subscribe to the channel at LO Big 12, or that's us on Twitter, but Locked On Big 12 here on YouTube. Find us on Twitter at LO Big 12. I'm at Josh Neighbors _. And then subscribe to the channel wherever you guys get your podcasts. All right, my friends, till next time, as always, stay safe.